Daniel's suitcase clicked shut with a sound that felt final. Maya stood in the doorway, arms folded, watching him wrestle the zipper. He didn't glance up, didn't notice the way she shifted her weight from foot to foot, wanting him to say something, anything, that might linger after he left. "Flight's at 9, he said, adjusting his watch. She nodded. "Be safe." He kissed her forehead like one might bless a child and was gone, the front door swinging softly behind him. The house exhaled emptiness in his absence, and Maya stood in the hall a moment longer, waiting for something that didn't come. Upstairs, the low thump of Logan's music vibrated through the walls. College had roughened his edges. He walked heavier now, laughed less. When he emerged in the kitchen an hour later, Maya was hunched over the sink, scrubbing a plate that was already clean. "Hey, Mom," he said. His voice was deeper now, too, but there was still a gentleness tucked inside it. She turned, startled, feeling the smile stretch too quickly across her face. "Hey, honey." "Hungry?" He shrugged, opening the fridge. "I could eat." They moved around each other in the narrow kitchen, the choreography familiar, if a little strained. His arm brushed hers when he reached for a glass, and for a fraction of a second, Maya felt the contact burn against her skin. She stepped back quickly, ashamed. They ate in silence, the ticking of the old wall clock filling the spaces between them. Maya watched Logan out of the corner of her eye. How tall he'd gotten, the slight stubble along his jaw, the way he filled the chair like a man now, not a boy. After dinner, Logan disappeared upstairs again, leaving Maya alone with the clink of silverware and her own unruly thoughts. She poured herself a glass of wine and sat at the kitchen table, scrolling absently through photos on her phone. There were pictures of Logan as a little boy, Daniel's arms slung loose around her shoulders, vacations that felt like they had belonged to someone else's life. The house creaked around her as the night deepened. At some point, Logan drifted back downstairs, barefoot and rumpled, and dropped onto the couch beside her, where she had switched on a mindless old movie. "You still watch this?" he teased gently. "I guess some habits die hard," she said, smiling without much heat. They watched in companionable silence, the glow of the screen painting the room in soft, forgiving light. Maya could feel the warmth of Logan's body beside her, too close and yet not quite touching. Her heart beat faster than it should have, for reasons she didn't want to name. Halfway through the movie, Logan reached over, plucking the wine glass from her fingers and taking a sip without asking. Maya laughed, a quick, startled sound, but said nothing. It felt oddly intimate, more so than it should have. "I miss this," Logan said suddenly, not looking at her. Maya swallowed hard. "I miss you too." The words hung between them, delicate and dangerous. Maya felt the weight of them settle into the soft parts of her, where loneliness had hollowed out rooms Daniel no longer visited. She stood up abruptly, gathering the empty plate and wine glass. "I should clean up," she said, too brightly. Logan leaned back on the couch, watching her disappear into the kitchen. He didn't follow, but he didn't turn back to the movie either. Later, alone in her bed, Maya stared at the ceiling and tried to summon the face of the man she had married. Tried to remember what it felt like to ache for him, to miss him. Instead, she could only feel the lingering warmth of Logan's shoulder brushing hers, and the memory made her throat tighten with shame. Down the hall, she heard Logan's door creak shut. The click of it closing was soft but final, slicing through the night like a blade. Maya rolled onto her side, pulling the covers up to her chin, and whispered a silent prayer that whatever had shifted between them would right itself by morning. But deep down, she knew better. The next morning, the house felt smaller. Maya moved through it with deliberate care, folding laundry that didn't need folding, wiping counters already spotless. She told herself it was habit, not avoidance. Logan lounged in the living room, his long frame stretched across the couch. He flicked through channels, stopping occasionally but never staying long. Maya caught herself watching him from the kitchen doorway, wondering when he had become a man, wondering when she had started noticing. "Need help with anything?" he asked, without looking up. She shook her head too quickly. "No, it's fine. Thanks." He nodded, but the offer had shifted something in the air between them. Something small but undeniable. By afternoon, the sky had turned a bruised gray. Rain spattered the windows, a steady, quiet drumbeat. Maya stood by the sink, watching water pool along the driveway, when she heard footsteps behind her. "You okay?" Logan's voice was softer than before, careful. Maya forced a smile over her shoulder. "Just tired." She turned back the window, hoping he would leave it there, but she felt his presence lingering, hesitant. When she wiped at her cheeks, she realized too late that she had started crying. The touch on her shoulder was feather-light. Logan didn't speak. He didn't have to. The silence between them said more than any words could. She turned toward him, and before she could think better of it, he pulled her into a hug. It should have been nothing, a son comforting his mother, but it wasn't. It was too close, too warm, too long. She felt his hands trembling slightly against her back, and when she finally pulled away, she couldn't meet his eyes. Logan stepped back first, running a hand through his hair. "Sorry," he muttered. Maya shook her head, swallowing against the knot in her throat. "No, it's fine." It wasn't, and they both knew it. The rain thickened, blurring the world outside into soft edges. Maya busied herself making dinner she wasn't hungry for. Logan hovered nearby, pretending to help, but really just filling the space she could no longer bear to fill alone. That night, Daniel called. Maya answered on the third ring, smoothing her hair even though he couldn't see her. "How's everything?" he asked, voice crackling slightly through the bad connection. "Good," Maya said. Too fast. She felt Logan behind her, standing just out of view. She willed him to go, to give her space, but he didn't move. Daniel talked about meetings and weather delays, about things that felt 1,000 miles from the storm brewing inside their home. Maya made noises of agreement, laughing where she thought she should, smiling as if that could travel through the line and hide what she didn't say. When the call ended, she set the phone down carefully, as though afraid it might shatter. Behind her, Logan exhaled. She turned to find him watching her with an expression she couldn't read, something wounded and furious and desperate all at once. "Why do you pretend?" he asked. Maya froze. "Logan, don't." He shook his head, stepping back as if she had struck him. "Forget it." The distance between them grew heavier with every heartbeat. Logan disappeared upstairs, his door shutting with a sharp, final click. Maya stood alone in the kitchen, listening to the rain hammer the windows, feeling the fault lines crack wider under her feet. That night, sleep refused to come. She wandered the dark house barefoot, every creak of the floorboards slicing into the heavy silence. When she passed Logan's door, she paused, hand hovering inches from the wood. She thought she heard movement inside, a restless shifting, but she didn't knock. Instead, she moved to the living room and sat curled on the couch, staring out into the storm. She must have dozed off, because when she opened her eyes, Logan was there, sitting across from her. His face was lit only by the occasional flicker of lightning, hollow-eyed, haunted. Neither spoke. For a long time, the only sound was the thunder rolling low in the distance and the steady, fragile rhythm of their breathing. Maya moved her eyes to say something safe and ordinary, but as she pushed herself up, her hand brushed his. She should have pulled away. He should have. But for one endless heartbeat, neither of them did. The rain slowed outside, but inside the house, the storm only deepened. Morning came dressed in silence, thick and punishing. Maya woke stiff and cold on the couch, the imprint of restless sleep still carved into her limbs. Logan was gone, the only trace of him a folded blanket, draped across her legs. She pulled it tighter around herself, wishing it could erase the memory of the night before. The rain had cleared, leaving the sky scrub pale and empty. Sunlight pooled weakly against the windowsills, making everything look harsher and more exposed. Maya rose slowly, as if moving too fast might shatter the fragile, guilty peace that had settled in the house. She found Logan in the backyard, tossing a basketball aimlessly against the garage wall. The hollow thud of rubber against brick beat a steady rhythm into the stillness. Maya stayed at the window, watching him. His movements were sharp, angry. He threw the ball harder than necessary, catching it with rough hands. Over and over, like he could pound something out of himself if he just hit hard enough. She should go to him. Say something. but what words could fix what had cracked open between them? Instead, she turned away, retreating into the kitchen where the rituals of coffee and breakfast promised a small, temporary forgetting. By the time Logan came back inside, sweaty and breathless, Maya had composed herself into the neat, tidy version of the mother she was supposed to be. "Want some eggs?" she asked, forcing cheer into her voice. Logan hesitated, wiping a hand across his forehead. "Sure." They moved through breakfast like actors reading lines from a worn-out script. She placed a plate in front of him. He mumbled thanks. She sipped her coffee too quickly. He scraped his fork across the plate without eating much. Neither spoke of the night. Neither dared. Halfway through the meal, the front door rattled. Daniel's voice floated in, casual and familiar. "Maya? Logan? I'm back." Maya nearly dropped her mug. Logan stiffened so visibly she thought she might hear his bones crack. For a split second, they locked eyes, a silent, desperate plea flashing between them. And then Maya forced a bright smile onto her face and rushed toward the door. Daniel dropped his bags by the stairs and pulled her into a quick, distracted hug. "Flight landed early. Thought I'd surprise you." She laughed high and thin. "You did." Logan appeared behind her, shoulders tight, jaw set. Daniel ruffled his hair with the easy affection of a man who hadn't been home enough to notice how much his son had changed. Dinner that night was a performance. Daniel talked animatedly about business trips and hotel mishaps. Maya nodded, smiled, asked the right questions. Logan said little, answering in monosyllables when forced. The silence between mother and son stretched taut and brittle. When Daniel finally went upstairs, leaving Maya and Logan alone at the table, the air grew too heavy to breathe. "I can't stay here," Logan said quietly, not looking at her. Maya's chest tightened. "Where will you go?" "Back to school early. I'll figure it out." She wanted to argue, to reach for him, to fix it, but there was nothing left to say that wouldn't make it worse. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Logan pushed his chair back roughly, standing. "Me too." The next morning, before Daniel was even awake, Logan packed his things into the battered old car he drove. Maya watched from the porch, arms wrapped around herself. She didn't call out to him, didn't cry. She only watched as he threw his duffel into the back seat, slid behind the wheel, and drove away without looking back. Inside, the house was too quiet again. Daniel's snores rumbled from the upstairs bedroom. Maya wandered back into the kitchen, trailing her fingers along the edge of the table where Logan had sat the night before, pretending to be whole. She picked up his empty coffee cup, still sitting in the sink, and held it for a long moment before finally washing it clean. Life closed over the space he left behind with ruthless efficiency. Daniel settled back into his routines, unaware of the new shadows under Maya's eyes, the sudden hollow places where love and guilt had fought each other into exhaustion. Some things Maya knew could never be spoken aloud. Some mistakes never stopped echoing in the quiet hours when no one was looking. She smiled when Daniel kissed her cheek. She folded laundry, paid bills, made dinners. She lived. But in the small, secret spaces inside her, the ones even Daniel's love couldn't touch, a part of her stayed standing on that porch, watching a boy who had once been her whole world disappear into morning light.